Today, we're going to be talking about more trade rumors surrounding the Chicago Bulls. We're also going to be talking about what Hall of Famer Allen Iverson had to say about Josh Giddey. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to slam dunk on that subscribe button, just like Modest Bazelis slam dunks in games. And so in exchange for slamming on that subscribe button, I'm going to give you nothing but daily content around the Chicago Bulls. And so make sure that you hit that like, you hit that subscribe, and you join the Chicago Bulls Insider family as we talk nothing but Chicago Bulls basketball. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. And let's start with the latest trade rumors around the Chicago Bulls. And so if you have not got a chance to see this came out a couple days ago. And so I got a chance to read about this on the Real GM Wiretap. And so within this article, it is talking about something that Sam Amick of The Athletic mentioned. And he is saying that the Chicago Bulls and other teams have had some interest in Domantas Sabonis. And so we've talked about this before, just with the Sacramento Kings, starting with what's going on with them. It is noted that several veterans could be on the move here. And so just paraphrasing this, as you see, Keon Ellis, DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, all could be on the move along with Sabonis. Key point in this first line that we're looking at is that Sabonis here carries the largest contract out of the group. And so just going a little bit forward and just taking a look at what was being said here, you see the teams that have some interest in Sabonis. And so it says that the Raptors, the Suns, the Washington Wizards, and the Chicago Bulls have all shown interest in Sabonis. And so, this kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier with this. This is nothing new. We've heard something about Sabonis and a link to the Chicago Bulls. And so here's where I'm at with Sabonis. I think that with Sabonis, he is a bit younger as far as just comparing him to Vooch. And so I could see, where that would benefit the Bulls as far as trying to get younger. As far as his fit on offense, I've said it before, I think that his mobility would certainly be a good fit on offense with the way that he can handle the basketball and really put it on the deck. I think that he's a player that is going to be okay with the type of tempo that the Bulls want to run. And so I could see that being a fit. And I think that Sabonis is an excellent passer. I think that that is something that he certainly has shown in his time with the Sacramento Kings and everything else. And I like the fact that he does have a little nice inside game. I think he has a nice little hook shot and the spin move. Like, I definitely appreciate that whenever you take a look at Sabonis play on a night-to-night basis. But on the flip side of that, I think that if the team is looking to be in the center market, which I think that they absolutely should be if they are making a trade here, you're talking about addressing the interior part of your defense and just giving you even more, in the post, right? And so I think that Sabonis gives you a slight upgrade in the post, but defensively, that is where the real question mark is, because defensively, he's not necessarily going to give you a huge presence there. And so that's why I'm certainly kind of out on him. And then on top of that, with the defense and everything else, like, it just feels like that this is more of a lateral move. It doesn't feel like that this is anything that you'll look at this and go, okay, 2, 3, 4 years from now, I could see the Bulls, have gotten farther by making this deal. And you're taking on more money with this. And so that is a key point, because he still has 2 more years at about $46 million and some change. And so the Bulls right now have a ton of financial flexibility coming up. And so is it worth giving up possibly some draft capital, some of your younger players, for a lateral move that's not necessarily going to push your franchise that much more forward? With that, that's where I'm kind of out on Sabonis. Maybe some are in on Sabonis, but that's where I'm kind of at. But you guys let me know what you're thinking there. I think that if the Bulls are in the market for the center, again, I think that they certainly should be if they are making a move here at the trade deadline, then I would think that the Bulls should maybe look to some other centers here. And so I'm thinking, for one, the Bulls could go ahead and maybe make the move with the Timberwolves and get pick up Joan Beringer. And so with him, I think that you get a young center that certainly you can go ahead and he can grow with your young roster and everything else. I think that if you're looking at just his mobility, I think he could be a player that certainly would fit the type of pace that you're looking for. And also, too, I think that he's shown at times he can certainly be a rim protector and everything else. Now, on the flip side of that, with Joan Beringer, you got to keep in mind that he's a rookie and he's very much raw. And so he's very much a project player. And so, we've talked about this before with the Chicago Bulls that, I think that they're at a point in time where if you're taking chances with project players, they need to work out. So I think that you've seen, some signs with him. I think certainly that as he gets some more playing time and everything else, he would certainly develop, but you have to keep that in mind. I think he would also too be an excellent lob threat, to go along with the guards and stuff like that. And so, just keep that in mind with Joan Beringer. But I could see this happening, especially since the Minnesota Timberwolves desperately, I think, need a point guard. And so I think that the interest in Kobe White, Ayo Dosunmu, and Trey Jones is very real here for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think, another player that has to be on the board here if the Bulls are trying to get a center would be Yves Missis. And again, this is at the right price point. And so we've been talking about the rumors around Yves Missis. And look, I mean, the Pelicans may want too much for him. And so I understand that. But if you can get Yves Missis, I think it would be a solid pickup for you because you're talking about a player that made all rookie second team, in his first season. And he just has, fallen out of the rotation, or they're not giving him the minutes, understandably so, because they have, Derek Queen over there and they have some other guys that they are going ahead and playing over him. But still, I think that there is a ton of potential into him. And you're talking about a player that, yes, he still needs to develop, but he's showing you already some more signs than, say, a Johan Beringer, right? Like you have something there because he's averaged the 9.1 points and 8.2 rebounds. And I could see that going up very much if you get him, with these guards over here, especially Josh Giddey and everything else. And you're talking about a player that averaged 1.3 blocks and he played in 67 games or started in 67 games. And plus, he is on a rookie scale contract. That is what I like about him, and also too Johan Beringer. And so you guys let me know what you guys are thinking there. The Bulls also too could maybe make a trade for a guy like Jackson Hayes. I've talked about that, especially if the Lakers are looking for a wing player. Maybe you get a player back like that on an expiring contract. And so just throwing that out there. And so next, I wanted to talk a little bit here about what Hall of Famer Allen Iverson had to say about Josh Giddey. And so if you've not got a chance to see this, this is pretty much everywhere. And so, I saw this on Yahoo Sports here. And so within this article, picking it up about the third line down, where he says, speaking of Josh Giddey as a fan, I was proud of him leaving OKC and going to a different situation and being able to see him get out on his own and thrive, Iverson said. And he also says that once he got his opportunity, he's making the best of it. He doesn't have too many weaknesses out there on the basketball court, and he's only going to get better. I'm a big fan and looking forward to seeing him do bigger and better things. And so that is Hall of Famer Allen Iverson talking about Josh Giddey. And so Allen Iverson certainly would know a little bit about playing point guard in the NBA here. And so, this is great praise. This is the first time that I've seen, a Hall of Famer give praise here to Josh Giddey. And look, Josh Giddey is absolutely getting it done this season, because when you look at the numbers, even with the injury that he's had here recently, like he is playing at a very high level. It's a huge debate. Would he be an all-star if he didn't miss that time? I think that you could certainly say that, because he's averaged 18.8 points per game. That's up from the 14.6 a season ago. And then also too, with the steals, a little bit down from last season at 0.9, but you look at the assist up to 8.9, and that's up from 7.2 in year one with the Chicago Bulls. When you look at the rebounds, that is also up to 8.8 rebounds, up from the 8.1. Both of those are his superpowers with the rebounds and the assist. And then when you look at the three-point percentage, it is right there where it was a season ago, 37.8 last season, 37.3 this season. Again, he's missed some time, and so let's see how he finishes down the stretch. As far as his field goal percentage, 46.5 a season ago, 46.4 this season. And so once again, that is right there. The minutes have increased by 2 this season, 32.3. And so look, Josh Giddey continues to rise, just like Allen Iverson indicates here. The numbers do show that. And I just think that for Josh Giddey, man, once he gets to the point where he gets like, I think a little bit more of like a mid-range type of deal where he could just kind of get to a pull-up there, or he uses his size to get to like a post-up move and a turnaround. Like, I think that that's where you will see him even unlock his game a little bit more there, offensively. And defensively, look, I think that the effort has certainly picked up a lot, and I love what I'm seeing there. And so the progress there has been good. I think that that's something that's really not talked about enough. I think that his effort level has gone up, and you can see that he's gotten much better, since year one there with the Chicago Bulls. And so let's see what happens with Josh Giddey. I think he's played well off the bench, and even though he didn't get into double figures in that game against the Boston Celtics, he was still a huge impact off the bench, with the assist and everything else, still working on the turnover ratios and stuff like that. But that's part of getting better in the NBA. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking about Allen Iverson and his praise of Josh Giddey. And then next, let me know what you guys are thinking about the most recent rumors around the Chicago Bulls and other teams having interest in Sabonis. Are you in on Sabonis? Are you out on Sabonis? And again, just talking about some of these other centers that I mentioned, Joan Beringer, a player that very much has a lot of upside, but remember, he is raw. And so it is going to be very much a project here. And so you're going to have to grow through that. Talking about Yves Missis, a player that has established himself a little bit more, but may cost the Bulls a little bit more. I've talked about even cheap options like a Jackson Hayes. I don't think it would take too much to get him away from the Lakers. And so I just threw him out there because I know I've mentioned him before. But you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. Do the Bulls even make a move at the trade deadline? And if they do, is it for a center? Because I think that even if they do trade for a center at the trade deadline, the Bulls are still very much going to need to, I think, draft a center as well. But you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. And look, as we always say, go Bulls. And I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.